For months, candidates have been out gathering signatures, knocking on doors, playing the social media game, and all of them showing up to debate here at FATV right in this studio. And now it all culminates till today, where it's in your hands. The voters get to choose their leaders for the next 2 years. Good evening, I'm Kevin Cormier along with my co-host Mark Bedanza, and this is FATV's live coverage of election 2019. Mark, what are you looking for tonight?
Well, there's always an air of excitement about election night, and you know, there's always a little bit of unknown. Obviously, some of the things we try to prognosticate and we try to predict, but there's always the unpredictable that happens in some way almost every election night. So, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see the results, try to interpret what they mean, and put another election in the books.
We have 3 contested ward races, Ward 2, Ward 3, and Ward 5. Ward 2, we have incumbent 3-term councilor Paul Boschman being challenged by newcomer Georgie Rodriguez. In Ward 3, we have an open contest, which is probably very closely watched and probably the least predictable one tonight, where Joel Caddy is retiring. We have Lynn Butland, Joe Bowen, and Andrew Kuchar competing for that seat. And in Ward 5, first-term incumbent Marisa Fleming against challenger Steve Sine. And the mayor's race, 2-term incumbent Steve Natalie looking for a 3rd term against challenger Evelyn Mateo Island.
Right. So interesting. The 3-way race in was it Ward 3 that ended in a dead heat during the preliminary, right?
Literally, it was literally a tie for 2nd place. There were 4 candidates. And Joe Bowen came in, I believe, with 236 votes. And then the 2nd place finishers, Lynn Butland and Andrew Kuchar, each came in with 230 votes. So there was only a 6-vote difference between the 1st place finisher and the 2 2nd place finishers. It
is actually fascinating how many times things like that happen and remind us that your vote counts.
Oh, no
you know,
question.
It's not one of these things that happens, you know, once a decade in some obscure place. It happens with some frequency. I mean, obviously it doesn't happen in every election, but it's amazing how often it does happen. Yeah. So that'll be a good one to watch tonight.
And then there was some strategy involved in that one also, because there were a few blank ballots, and that was the only race on that ballot for that preliminary election. So if people were coming out to vote, they were going out to vote for that race. So the fact that we had some blanks raises some eyebrows. Did someone just not fill in the oval fully and the machine didn't count it? Could one of those 2nd place finishers gotten that extra vote and eliminated the 3rd place? And no one asked for a recount.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The interesting part about it was strategically, the recount, of course, was an issue that people had to deliberate and decide. And the fact that neither of them asked for a recount is interesting. So, I mean, I guess, you know, the strategy is you know, we'll work harder, and we'll get over this hump the next time.
So it'll be interesting to see if the 3rd place finisher in their own mind, and we'll probably never know, is going to be Monday morning quarterbacking, saying, should I have asked for that recount?
It sets itself up that, you know, there may not be a plurality. So who wins that race may not get 50% of the vote. Very, very possible, based on the numbers you just mentioned. So that's another interesting aspect of that particular race.
It really is. And then we have the councilor at large race. We have 10 candidates for 5 seats.
Nice to see.
It is. A couple of them are current ward councilors who are trying to make that jump to an at-large position, a citywide position. We have 3 retirements from the city council. Longtime councilors Tom Donnelly, David Clark. And who's the 3rd? Tom Donnelly, David Clark, and there's a 3rd one. It's escaping me now.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
But we have 3 that are leaving the city council. You know, maybe I'm thinking of Joel Caddy, maybe it's only 2. But we have the 10 candidates running. We have Michael Kuchmarek and Amy Green, who are current councilors trying to make that jump to the at-large position.
And, you know, commend them for, you know, taking that shot. I mean, it's easier to sort of stay where you are, as, you know, be the incumbent and maybe not even have any opposition if that's the way it went. And they have, you know, dove into a race that they have to work hard at. Right. So, good for them.
So that's interesting, because there's certainly been, I know some don't like to use the word network or establishment, but there's definitely 2 distinct factions in the city, and they've aligned up pretty well with their candidates, so it's going to be interesting to see tonight.
There's always, I mean, look at, we both of us have been around politics on a local level for a long time, and there's always factions, right? But it's a little bit more complicated, because at the end of the day, factions change, people change, things change. And you know, the fact that someone supports a particular candidate doesn't mean that it translates necessarily for the rest of the factions. You know, folks or people that are politically active, you just never know. There's a lot of moving parts.
And then, of course, the insiders game. I don't think that really makes no difference technically, and probably doesn't make any difference to the voters, but who finishes that first place in a councilor at large race. There are 5 open seats, and it's not like the first place finisher gets gets the council presidency or a plum committee. It makes no difference whether you're first or fifth, but it really does on the inside, doesn't it? It's
kind of like graduating from college or law school, you know? I mean, nobody asks you where you graduated when you're out there in the world, but it does matter to the people involved.
It does.
That's for sure.
It does, and that's it's going to be interesting to see tonight, not only who gets those 5 seats in the council at large race, but what that placement is.
Yeah, because, you know, if nothing else, like you said, the pecking order, once they start to serve, may mean little, but you know, in terms of what their political, you know, acumen, political cachet is out there in the world, it counts for something. You know, I mean, people look at the whole situation a little differently when, especially if there's somebody that distances the field by a good amount. So it'll matter somewhat.
That's good. So FATV, we have people out in the field. We have them at every polling location tonight. So when the polls close, the results are posted within 5 to 10 minutes now on the board at the actual polling location. We have people in the field at all of these polling locations that'll be getting those results back to us, and then we will be reporting them to you as soon as they come in. So it's not like the days of old either, when we'd sit in those city council chambers and burn the midnight oil. And
it's funny because back in those days, right, the chambers would be full.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, if it was a close one, boy, there'd be a long night till you finally got the tally. Today, there's no one there. You know, I mean, the information really is oftentimes picked up right at the polling place. So, different world.
I remember back when they had the old punch card ballots, and the police officers would bring them in, and they'd go in the back room at city council chambers, and they'd have to run it through the machine, and the city clerk would do her tally, and then there'd be that big whiteboard out in the city council chambers, and one of the election wardens would be out there, and the city clerk would read them off.
Dramatically.
Yeah, dramatically. They'd have the magic marker going in the board, and everyone would be looking. Now it's people can sit in their living rooms and eat their Ben and Jerry's and watch Mark and Kevin give them the results almost instantly.
We never had any hanging chads either.
Which way is better?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it depends on your perspective, right? If you're the candidate, you probably like the modern system better. I mean, some of those were agonizing waits, you know.
They were, but they're memorable ones.
Oh, very much so. I can remember a few of them that are very memorable. You know, so absolutely.
Very good. So going back to those ward races, we have the Ward 2 race, and Flap TV's Michael Delamonica went out in the field today, talked to the candidates, talked to voters in all three wards that are contested, 2, 3, and 5. So if we can pull up that video of Mike Delamonica in the field today talking to candidates and voters out in Ward 2. Do we have that? We'll wait for that to come up, I hear. All right.
Here with all 3 candidates for Ward 3 City Council, Andrew Kuchar, Joe Bowen, Aline Butland, and this has been maybe one of the centerpiece races in Fitchburg. You had a preliminary with 4 candidates, still 3 remaining because there was an actual tie between Mr. Kuchar and Ms. Butland. And Joe, you only finished 6 votes ahead, so very close of the second place finishers. So this is one that people are closely following. I was talking with you a little bit off the air regarding turnout, so you can tell the viewers on Flap TV. What are you seeing in terms of turnout?
Oh, what I'm seeing, I don't know, probably need the mic. What I'm seeing in terms of turnout is, as of 9 o'clock, there are already 174 votes cast, which is almost a quarter of the people that turned out for the preliminary. So, and we were just getting the day started. So it really seems like there's a big push, a lot of interest from the residents, and I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andrew, you've done this. You've done this before in terms of some of the other elections and things. So, what are you feeling in comparison to some of the other races you've run, or some of the other things you're seeing out there? Anything that strikes you as different about this one, or
A lot more people that are interested in the race. A lot more voters coming in and out. This is the busiest I've ever seen Memorial. Right now we're at a lull, but this morning it was all out, and I'm sure it's going to continue into the afternoon and even into the evening when the workers get out of work and get to the polls.
And by contrast, Aline Butland, a relative newcomer to the political scene anyway, but you've been working hard, seeing anybody following you on social media, so you've been out and about, knocking on doors and going there. So what are your impressions for this is your first time through in terms of, at least as a candidate, so give me your impressions of what you've taken away from this.
Well, it's definitely been an experience, knocking on doors, talking to people. It's something that's very interesting. I'm very happy that Ward 3 is so engaged. People know what's going on. They ask you the hard questions. They ask you the tough questions. They expect answers, and you have to give it to them. So I respect it, Ward 3, because very, very informed. So I will take away no matter what happens tonight. It's something that I've left everything on the table. I've done everything that I could, and I just hope that the voters come through.
I've said it before on the air when I was working the preliminary, and I continue to believe that. Joel Caddy not running for re-election, retiring, of course, but the newcomer to Ward 3, I think, would be well served in any event by these three candidates, all three of whom have worked very hard. And so if you live in Ward 3, Fitchburg, well, actually, by the time you watch it, actually, we're going to be showing this by the time polls have closed. So if you didn't get out here, you were missing out. So that's it for now from here. And I'm here with Alan, a Andrew Kuchar supporter. Alan, Michael Della Monica, Flap TV. And so let me ask you, is this, have you been involved with political campaigns before, helping out and things? Or
This is actually my first time being out here at the polls supporting. So, yeah, this is my first time.
What inspired you to come out?
I just, believe in Andrew. I think he's going to do a great job, and I think he's going to be a great candidate.
Well, great. Well, Alan, thank you so much for coming out and democracy in action. I'm here with Donna, a supporter of Aline Butland for Ward 3 City Councilor. And so, Donna, tell me a little bit about, have you worked on political campaigns before? First time, long time?
This is my first time working on a political campaign, and for Aline, the reason why I'm working on this campaign is because this is a girl who truly believes in a vision for Fitchburg, and I haven't seen a candidate in a long time that has that type of vision. She loves Fitchburg. She wants to see Fitchburg go forward, and as a resident of Fitchburg all of my life, that's what I want to see too. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm supporting her, and I'm just going to keep supporting her all day here.
Whenever you're ready. Michael Della Monica here with another Joe Bowen Sr., who is supporting his son Joe Bowen Jr. And so Joe Jr. was giving me his opinion on what he saw out here. Give me your opinion on what you're seeing out here, Dad.
I'm saying that all candidates that are here have been working very hard. And my son has been taught by us as a family to be a trooper, and he is definitely a trooper, and you're not going to go wrong with him.
Well, that's excellent.
So that obviously was Ward 3, not Ward 2, and they played Ward 3 for us because we have one of the candidates that came to join us. We did extend an open invitation to all candidates that are running the election to stop in and say hi. Joe Bowen, the trooper, is here with us.
Yes.
Welcome, Joe.
Hi, welcome. I mean, thank you for welcoming me.
How does it feel to be inside out of the cold today?
Well,
sitting down?
I was just explaining that I'm starting to thaw out. My feet are starting to get a little warm, and my cheeks are getting flush, and starting to feel good, but I know I got to get right back out there at the polls, back into the cold weather.
You do. You know, not too much longer though. Polls close in 45 minutes. Where are we for voter turnout in Ward 3?
Well, just before I left the polls, I got a count. We have 1,255 votes in Ward 3 so far,
1,255 with still an hour to go. The last election in 2017 in Ward 3 were 1,175. So you're already beating the totals for 2 years ago. Probably not too surprising. Councillor Caddy was running unopposed 2 years ago. Very contested race with the three candidates this year.
Yeah, there is. The three of us have all been working really hard to try to earn the votes, and I think the show of support from all over the ward is starting to show tonight.
This is your first try at elective office, Joe?
Yes.
So what inspired you to run?
Well, I do a lot for the city already. I'm chair of the Fitchburg Cultural Council. I'm on a number of boards and committees in the city, and I just thought that this would be a good opportunity after hearing that Joe Caddy was retiring to step up and see if I could get into an elected office and be the voice of the residents.
And what has been your vision for Fitchburg as you've met the voters and talked to them, taken into consideration, I'm sure, many concerns? What's your vision moving forward?
Well, the big thing is that I want to make sure that the residents of the ward have a voice on the council, and I want to make sure that I'm that voice, and that I serve their priorities right now, which the priorities are the roads and the taxes. And so, you know, I've been trying to advocate for a line item in our budget, and for in terms of taxes, you know, we need to raise tax revenues to do more in the city, but we don't need to raise taxes on the residents. We really need to focus on bringing in more business. And I think the work that's being done with rezoning and trying to even out the tax rates for businesses will help drive more people in. But more importantly, I like to foster things where that we can make Fitchburg a destination location. So as chair of the Cultural Council and many other efforts and projects that I work on, like the Fitchburg Dog Park, and I'm on committees for different music festivals and the Activate Mill Street project. These are central areas that people can come and congregate together, and hopefully if we have more of those, it'll attract businesses to come down to set up shop.
Well,
great. Yeah.
As a ward councillor in Leominster, I can tell you that if you succeed, be ready for a lot of phone calls.
In a sense, I'm already getting them.
Well, you know, I mean, you'll find that I think generally people are very supportive and appreciate, you know, good, solid relationship with their ward councillor, and obviously getting back to them seasonably is very important, which
absolutely,
if you succeed, I'm sure you'll do.
Yeah. Thank you,
Joe. Thank you for coming by. Best of luck tonight.
Pleasure.
We'll
thank you for saying
best wishes.
All right.
It's been a long campaign, but it's
I know,
drawing to a close. So.
Polls close at 8 o'clock. So if you're out there in Ward 3, come on out and vote.
Very good.
Thank you.
Best of luck, Joe.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Joe.
Nice to meet you.
So it will be. That's going to be an interesting race coming.
Sure
up.
will. Yeah, it sure will.
So, and like I said, I think that's probably the least predictable race that we have.
I think we know this guy.
Is Ward 3, and we have another. Aren't you looking dapper this evening, Mr. Mayor?
Let's shut the cameras off and the audio. I want to talk to Mark Bedanza.
He's definitely getting the award tonight for best dress.
He looks pretty
Look
dapper.
at that.
Yeah,
That is pretty sharp.
Thank you.
How's it going, Mayor?
Good, buddy.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling very well.
Nice to see you, man.
Fine. Energized.
Yeah, good.
Let's get back to work.
Let's get back to work.
That's what I'm looking to do. So,
You have quite the electoral history, huh?
you know, I've always worked hard.
Have you ever gotten under 65% of the vote?
I don't know.
I do. I looked it up.
I have never.
You have never gotten under 65% of the vote. You've never lost an election, and you've been doing this for how long now? You've been in elective office?
Oh God, it's been over 20 years.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Time flies, huh?
You know, I started out as a PTO president, and that was the beginning of the end.
How did that go?
Actually, that was I had once again, as I normally have in my political and public service life, great people working with me. So I've always been fortunate in that regard.
You may know that I wrote a book about a state senator from New Hampshire, longest serving state senator up there, Lou D'Alessandro.
Okay, I did not know that. Yeah.
And Lou is a key guy in the electoral process on the presidential side. When you run for president and you want to win the New Hampshire primary and you're a Democrat,
sure.
you really want Lou's support. And he told me he's another guy like you. He was in the executive council. He ran for governor. He's been a state rep, state senator. And he's served Manchester locally. And he said the toughest job he had was being on the school committee.
Is that right?
By far of any other job.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you that.
Well, you know, Lyndon Johnson once said, and I'm paraphrasing, that whenever he thought that the rigors of the presidency would get to him, he always thought it could be worse. I could be a mayor. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but I have that actually behind my wall, right? And I always thought that was a great line.
Makes a lot of sense.
Well, and everything ends up with you. You know, whether you and everything. The perception is everything is fixable by the mayor.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
And it's just not realistic.
And the mayor, what an all-encompassing position that is. A lot of cities, you know, you look at Worcester, you look at a lot of cities in Massachusetts and across the country, they have a mayor that's usually a member of the city council, a ceremonial position. You go to the ribbon cutting ceremonies, you go to the parades, you do all those things, and then you have a town city manager that takes care of all the the union negotiation, the finances. You have to do it all. You have to do all the finances, and you have to do all the being an ambassador for the city.
A lot of it, though, Kevin, is the people you've got working for you. You know, I've got pros, a lot of pros, and they're outstanding at what they do, and I couldn't do it. You know, I have to rely on them, and I am. I'm a bottom-up manager, if you want, if you will. Mm-hmm. I get them in the room. What do you think? This is what I'd like to do, and they tell me I'm crazy, and normally I'll say, you're right.
But that's part of your charm, right?
I guess we'll go with what you're suggesting. Okay, yeah.
And a supportive family is so important. With a position as mayor.
My wife is with me tonight, my daughter Alexandra, and my wife's been through a lot of this stuff, and she always reminds me that I failed to ever check with her before. I said, I'm running for state rep. Oh, thanks. Thanks for letting me know.
But you have sometimes you have those reluctant spouses, and sometimes you have the ones that are right on board. And I remember the first time I met Joanne was when we were holding signs when you first ran 4 years ago down at the Knights of Columbus, and it was and she pulled up a little Toyota Corolla, and she came out.
What a memory.
And I have an Italian, I have an Italian mother. I know that, and she comes out and she has the hot drinks for us, and she has the snacks. Huh? No, my mother was a Salerno.
Okay, Leominster?
Well, originally Fitchburg, but then when she married my father, they moved to Leominster.
Okay,
so
all right.
She was a Salerno. So
Mark's Italian too. You know.
He's Italian. Bedanza? I thought that was an Irish name.
Sicilian.
So was Natalie. That's what I tell people. It's not just
we
Italian,
started out in Fitchburg too.
That's right. That's right.
My father's a Fitchburg guy.
Yeah.
And my mother was a Leominster gal.
Yeah.
Also Italian.
I want to thank you again for what the service you're providing with this show, and you're an outstanding host.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Kevin does an amazing job.
He does his homework. I mean, he knows what he's talking about, usually.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't stump you. I couldn't stump you in that debate on anything, so I don't know if I quite did my homework.
Preparation is the whole thing, isn't it?
Maybe next time.
Yeah,
is it going to be next? What do you think? You ready to announce your re-election bid for the fourth term?
Getting up there, you know. Getting up there. 67 years old.
Yeah.
So
what's the plan? You celebrating with friends and supporters tonight?
Yeah, we're going to get together down at my Cheers, Slattery's.
Nice.
Yeah.
And best zucchini sticks ever.
Oh, isn't it something?
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know where he
Amazing.
gets that special sauce, but
I don't know.
it's fabulous.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Well,
anything you'd like to say to the voters?
No, I thank you. I'm hoping the voters are going to give me another 2 years. I believe they will, because I think they agree that the direction we're going in is a positive, and the way we should be going for the city of Fitchburg. So,
Awesome.
thank you.
Mayor Stephen D. Natalie, thank you for
Best
stopping
wishes
by
tonight,
and saying
Mayor,
hi to us.
and best of luck. Best of luck with the
Thank you.
the governing.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you as well in Leominster.
Thank you very much.
Take care. So that's great. It's a success story.
Yeah.
Someone that's never lost an election has always gotten at least 65% of the vote.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work.
Well, you know, it's like my friend from New Hampshire says, it's all about likability. Speaking of likability,
Oh, hello.
Hi. How are you?
Well, hello. Where's your Leominster Blue tonight?
Leominster blue. Let me see. Not a speck of blue on me. All right, I've had to change. You know, blue.
That's all right. Mark and I'll balance here.
Yeah.
Blue goes with my eyes, but I've had to change everything to red.
yeah.
Everyone's well. Did you see the mayor tonight looking dapper? I mean,
Oh yeah, was he all red?
No, he wasn't red, but he had it going on tonight.
Oh, that's so nice of you complimenting him.
So do you, yeah. So do you. You're looking
you.
great. Are those beads? Are those ones you get at Jordan's Furniture when you?
They're
go
my
there?
pearls. They're my Mardi Gras pearls. I wore them.
Are they going to grow up to be the Barbara Bush pearls? You know,
I
the
wore
big
them to
ones?
Crocker School this morning, and I said, you know what? I like them. I'm wearing them all day. They're
So,
classy.
Who is this, by the way?
I think it's Sam Scalia.
Is that who that is?
Sam Squalia. Hi.
Yes.
Counselor at large?
Yes.
Hoping for a second term?
I am hoping for that. According to the Crocker Elementary kids, I have been voted in for a second term.
Oh, you got to.
Yeah.
What was the placement?
Sam Squalia, number 1, with 310 votes.
Come on, number one.
And then the Crocker kids have chosen
Number one.
Nicholas Carboni with number 2 at 227. And then they chose Pete Cody, Anthony Zarella, and Amy Green
Interesting.
as
We're
their
gonna- we'll-
mock city council.
They've been doing that a long time now, over 30 years,
32
right?
years.
32
Really?
years.
Wow.
I voted it the first time 31 years ago.
Oh, so you've been a candidate and a voter.
Yeah. I remember one of the last elections was I voted Clinton, Bob Dole, Ross Perot.
That was 96, right? That was, if my memory serves me.
27 years ago.
Dole and Clinton were
I think I
96.
was in
I believe.
fifth.
Yeah,
You're right.
96.
I think I was in 5th grade.
Really?
Don't count.
Okay. Do the math at home. We'll do the math here on the numbers.
I already
tonight.
figured it out.
They can do that. How you feeling? You been around all the wards today?
Yep. It was a little chilly. It was a little cold. There's a lot of people coming out, though. Ward 3 is the busiest. There was over 1,200.
Over 1,200
Over
at 7
1,200?
o'clock.
Well,
And-
that would make sense. That's a
There's
pretty
three
contested
There's
race.
3 candidates.
And not only is it a contested race, all 3 of them are out there working really
Hard,
hard.
yeah.
They are. All 3 of them are out there
agree.
pounding the pavement,
They're
knocking
getting,
on
they're getting their
doors.
vote out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
We'll see.
And it's showing too.
8-something p.m. We'll be watching FATV. We'll be watching you guys at home.
You got at home? You're not
Well-
celebrating with friends and supporters tonight?
Actually, we are at Dario's.
Dario's,
tonight. Yeah,
very good.
we'll be celebrating regardless of the outcome at Dario's.
Very good. Very good. Anything to say to the voters?
Thank you so much for coming out. This has been awesome. This has been the best 2 years. I am hopeful for another 2 years to serve Fitchburg. So excited.
Very good.
No one will ever doubt your energy, Sam.
That's for sure.
Thanks, Mark.
Sam
Thanks,
Squalia,
Kevin.
thank you. Best of luck
Yeah.
tonight.
All right, thanks,
Best wishes,
guys.
Sam.
Thanks so much for hosting the show. I can't wait to watch.
Very good.
All right.
Take care.
Have a good. Very good. So, again, Councilor at Large race. Oh, hello. Hello. How are you? Have a seat. It's like an airport in here tonight, isn't it? Nice to see you.
Okay.
All right, we'll get a hug. We'll get a hug.
Hi.
We'll get a hug at the end.
Ward 5 Councilor Marisa Fleming, who looks in much better shape than the last time you were in the studio.
it's
I mean,
true.
what a trooper that Marisa was. She had been diagnosed, I believe. I don't want to violate any HIPAA laws. or
Oh, yeah,
anything, but
yeah.
can we
Just
say, you
sick.
know? Yeah, she was sick. She was sick. She was on doctor's orders not to leave her bed with her hot tea and limoncello, but.
Which
we
was
had
very good, by the way.
we had a debate
Enjoyed it.
scheduled, and we said, well, maybe we can squeeze it in the night of the council. We'll do something. She says, no. She goes, I'm gonna be there, and you toughed it out and
And it went well.
showed
as well
some
as could be
showed some
expected,
commitment.
of course.
Absolutely, yeah. That's okay. So how you feeling?
I'm exhausted.
I can imagine.
my adrenaline is still up there, and I'm just waiting to see the results, or maybe I'm not waiting to see the results. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, it's
I'm
like
optimistic.
we were talking earlier that it's so quick now. You know, it's
Yeah,
not like
I
the
know.
old days where you had to wait and wait and wait.
I know.
You know, you'll know pretty
Within
quickly
15
now.
minutes, you pretty much have.
So another one
And it's
So
results.
looking back on your first term, right? That you
Yes.
So what in terms of you know, your initial impression before you ran, and now you have the experience of those 2 years, what was surprising to you? What was expected?
Well, I think I was amazed at how many of the constituents did not really understand what the city does, what the councilor's job is for them. And I found that kind of surprising. But then again, it was pretty surprising to find out what people thought you could take care of, which you couldn't.
Yeah.
So it's a learning experience on both ends, for them
Sure.
and for me. I mean, same as school committee. You know, there's that learning curve. But I think I've been pretty productive. And
Have you enjoyed it?
I
Obviously,
have
you're running for re-election.
Absolutely enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I am a people person, and I loved meeting the people. You know, when you can do something for them, it's so fulfilling. You know, so I enjoy that.
Well, best wishes tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Michael and I were going around to the wards today, and there was Marisa with her table, with her coffee and everything for everybody. You want a coffee? You want a coffee?
Yeah, water.
Taking care of everyone just like you take care of your constituents.
That's it. Everybody's my family.
What are some of your observations? Ward 5 had a contentious vote and debate on moving the polling location. I know you were opposed to that move, but it passed anyway.
Yes.
What are your observations on how that worked out today?
I think there was still some confusion. I did speak to the 5B voters, and I think we had a better turnout. You know, I spoke to some people that said, you know, they wouldn't have come had it been at Sima Pack. But I could see the confusion with other people coming in not knowing whether to go to Rollstone Street, Rollstone Road, or Rollstone Church. So they went to a few different places before they actually ended up at the right location.
So in a city election, when you may have lucky to get a 20% voter turnout versus a presidential election year where we may get a 70% voter turnout, when you looked at the parking situation and the traffic flow today, do you have any concerns about going into next year's election?
As far as keeping that polling?
Yes.
Okay, actually, for the people coming in, there was plenty of parking. I did find out this evening that there was some lighting issues. So one of the officers that were down there had to use his cruiser as the lighting for people to get in there. And getting into the entrance in the evening from Main Street was a bit of a challenge because the lighting was so bad. But as far as getting in there for people with wheelchairs, they did it with great ease, and I think it went well in that regard. I think if people had a better idea of where they were voting, it probably would have gone a little bit smoother.
Right.
They should have sort of scoped it first.
Yeah. And the city did send out the notices and everything, but you know, even me, when we were going around to the wards, as I was heading from Ward 2 to Ward 5, I'm like, which one is Rollstone? Is that the one in the corner across from Workers Credit Union, or is that the one way at the end by the CVS? I wasn't even sure, so I went all the way down.
And many people did that.
I wasn't even sure. Believe it, I'm really not a churchgoer, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I go to the church.
Well, as long as lightning didn't strike, you're good.
I go to the church of St. Mattress on Sundays. Anything you'd like to say to the voters tonight as it all comes to a close?
I want to thank everybody for showing up today and tonight. I mean, there was a pretty good flow there at Ward 5, and I was pretty excited about the attendance.
Excellent. Heading down to Slattery's for some great zucchini sticks?
Yes, and maybe some espresso martinis.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's where we're going to have to go after this. They have espresso martinis.
Well,
best wishes.
Councilor Marisa Fleming, my ward councilor. Thank you for coming on, and best of luck. Best of luck.
Okay, I told you when you left.
Best wishes. Nice to meet you.
Good luck, Councilor.
Yep, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Do we have anyone else coming in, or are we going to another tape, or who do we have? I think we have. I think
We got Mike Kushmerek.
Mr. President, how are you?
I'm doing well, Kevin. Good to see you.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Bonanza.
Nice to see
very
you.
good to see you. Thank you for having me on this
How's it
evening.
going? Council President Mike Kushmerek. He is the current Ward 4 councilor seeking a seat for councilor at large. How's the citywide race treating you?
I think it's treated me well. It's been a long day. It's been a fun day. A lot of volunteers, a lot of phone calls today, and a lot of standing up polls. But all exciting.
Good. Doing the get out the vote effort?
Of course. Yeah, you really can't stop. And it was about 7:30. I was in the parking lot. I was sending my last couple of text messages to folks getting home from work now, and I think at this point, I think we're drawing to a close.
Excellent. Did you make it to all the wards?
Made it to all the wards twice today, so that was
nice.
That was the fun part.
Yeah.
And got to, in a nice full circle kind of moment. Began my morning exactly where I started 6 years ago, in my home ward, Ward 4. Right in the corner of Main and Wallace Ave. So,
we're all Ward 4 councilors.
I just thought of that myself. I just did.
We're all Ward 4 city councilors.
Different times, different places.
So he's been there quite a while and stayed put. I stayed put. What's making you make the leap from a ward councilor to a councilor at large? What was the precipice there?
Yeah, for me, it was really the opportunity the past 4 years to serve as council president, and really that role as president then takes you beyond the borders of your ward, and to start working with the mayor and the administration on citywide issues. And for me, that kind of it began my appetite, and for me, that was the opportunity where I was really anxious and excited to work citywide with residents and constituents beyond Ward 4, in addition to Ward 4 residents, to really look towards a more prosperous and exciting future for Fitchburg.
I got to tell you, from a personal perspective, when I watch those council meetings on FATV, you run one heck of a meeting. It really is. You to represent Fitchburg and be the ambassador to Fitchburg, you do it with professionalism, you do it with knowledge, and you run a great meeting.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. It's been a learning curve, though. I remember my first meeting was deer in the headlights. But we're fortunate. We have a wonderful city clerk, Anna Farrell, who's retiring in just a couple of weeks. But she's really steered me through the process, and I know Councilor Bonanza, you've been there as well.
Yeah, it's the good thing or interesting thing about local politics is you never stop learning.
That's right.
You never stop learning about the process. You never stop learning about the issues facing the city and the people. I mean, it's a constant flow of information, and you'll never get bored.
If you haven't learned something every day, I think it's been a bad day.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Very good. Anything you'd like to say to the voters as you close out this election season?
I'm just thankful for the opportunity. It was a wonderful past 6 months running citywide and going door to door, and just getting to hear the individual stories of the residents of the city of Fitchburg, and hear what keeps them awake at night, and what gets them excited for a better and more prosperous tomorrow. So I'm grateful for that opportunity, and I'm thankful to not only the folks that have volunteered for my campaign over the past 6 months, and in particular the past month, but for everyone citywide, the other candidates and our residents who went out to the polls today and voted and participated in this great process and this great experience and experiment called democracy.
Very well said.
Well,
best of luck tonight.
Thank you both.
Best wishes, Mike.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Yep.
You too.
Yep.
Very good. It's going to be interesting results. It's a strong field of candidates.
We didn't get the
coming up.
Ward 2 video up there, but we got one of the contenders.
Hey, what's going on?
We're going to get this
amigos?
video up. How's it going,
Hola.
Georgie?
Very good. How are you?
Talk about a man of energy.
Very happy to be here.
I used to like it. Back in the olden days, he'd have his show called Que Pasa on Lemon
We used to
TV.
have the coconut of the week.
The coconut of the I made coconut of the week a few times.
Coconut.
And I used to be his guest. Now he's my guest.
How about that, huh?
How's it going, my friend?
We're doing just great. We're very excited, very happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to being able to address all our good friends out there. We had a long day today. We saw you at one point. We were able to take a little break and go home and change shoes and take a shower and be with some family. We were out there until about 6 in the afternoon. We took a little break. We had a chance to talk to my opponent, Paul Boschman, which is a good friend of mine as well. We had a great time. And as a matter of fact, it started raining. He lent me an umbrella. you know, and it got dark, and he put a generator, he put even lights over there for us, so we thank you for that. And so we just had a wonderful race. Very, very happy that we were able to participate in the electoral process, and I'm very grateful to all my supporters, and grateful to everyone that participated in the election.
Kevin, that's a phenomenon that you might be able to recognize too. As contentious as sometimes these races get, I've noticed on election day sometimes people really, even opponents, they help each other. They're gentlemen. Gentle ladies to each other.
It's amazing what happens when the camera lights go off. When we were going around the polls today, I know people that watched that debate, a lot of people that watched the debate, was probably the best half hour in the history of local access television anywhere in the country. Okay?
The ratings went through the roof.
They did. Okay, they did. But they probably would find it hard to believe that when we went around to the different wards today and see the contested races, there were some wards where one candidate was on this side of the street and one candidate was on that side of the street. But when we went to Ward 2, you and Paul were together all day.
We were there, we were there since early in the morning.
People were talking.
You know, we don't have to agree on everything to disagree on something, or disagree on everything to agree on something. And sometimes things are taken out of proportion, you know, especially on social media, where you got other groups that have a different agenda, and they twist your words, and then they make something small, they make it big. But at the end of the day, Paul Bushman and myself, what we want is to do the best for the city. We're passionate people, we're hot-blooded people, we got fire burning in our heart. We want to work hard for the constituents of the entire city, and that's the big message there. And whether you vote for Paul or you vote for me, I want to express my sincere gratitude and thankfulness for doing so. And I think that's very important, because it shows how diversity helps our city to grow. We don't see that barrier, whether it's language or cultural or religious. What we see is one united community working to continue moving forward our city. And that's me. Whether I win or whether I lose, I will continue to work hard for the entire city of Fitchburg, like I have done for the past 35 years.
You've been involved in community for as long as I can remember, my entire adult life, but you never run for political office before. What spurred you to do it now?
You know, and that's funny, because I have worked in a lot of political campaigns. I mean, there's probably not a politician in our area or in Leominster that I haven't partaken with or worked on their campaign. I've been around since Richard Girard was mayor of the city of Leominster. As a matter of fact, I was one of the first Latinos or Hispanic Americans to belong to any committee in the city of Leominster. It was with Richard Girard. And I started working here when Bernard Chartrand was mayor. And I have always stayed in the background, doing what I do. I do, like I said, a lot of community work, but I have always worked on the private sector. But since I took some interest a couple years ago, and I believe that I could contribute positively, bring something new to the table, bring new ideas, a fresh breath of air, and that's why it motivated me to run for councilor, especially on my ward. That's where I live. I think there's always room for improvement, and I always believe that change is good.
Well, good for you. I mean, you know, to hear you suggest that win or lose, you're going to continue to work hard for Fitchburg. That's a great
Absolutely.
attitude.
I don't believe,
that's a great attitude.
I don't believe in the attitude that if you lose an election, first of all, you can't blame anyone. You know, the people have spoken. It's the goodwill of the good Lord. The people take their decision. They voted for either you or they voted for me. But whether you lose or you win, especially when you lose, it doesn't mean you have to retire or you're going to be grumpy about it. You have to be grateful. You have to thank the opportunity that the voters gave you and the people who supported you, and you must continue working. As a matter of fact, I told Paul before I left this afternoon, I'm hoping that we could continue our relationship and working for the betterness of our community.
Good for you. 15
minutes till the polls close. Best of luck.
Thank you, Kevin.
Nice
yes, I want to thank you, Mr. Bonanza. I want to, Kevin, thank you so much, because through Flap TV, we do bring the information that our viewers need. You go straight to the point, and that's what I like about you. So when you run for mayor, you let me know. God bless you. Take care. Thank you, Fitchburg. We love you very much.
Thank you, Georgie. Not happening. And on the charismatic scale, we are going to shift across gears here. Right? Councilor Anthony Zarella, thank you very much. I was
Hi,
watching.
Anthony, nice to see you.
Thank you guys for having me.
You had posted an ad from 2 years ago on Facebook, and I was watching it. And it started off, if you're looking for someone who's going to be, charismatic, and I think that was the word you used.
Yeah.
I'm not it. I'm just a hard worker. I'm going to be the hardest. And you listed the attributes that you wouldn't be, and you listed the attributes that you would be. And I said to myself, 2 years later, talk about truth in advertising. You get exactly, I mean, and so many people say that whenever they're in a meeting with you, you're always, no matter who's in the room, you're the smartest one in the room. And
Thank you.
You don't pound your chest. You just get down to work and you do your homework.
That's what I try to do.
Yeah. Find that least common denominator, digest the problem, dissect the problem, and put it out there to discuss, right?
Yeah, because I feel like, that's the only way we can come to any kind of consensus is if we first make sure everyone's on the same page about what the issue is,
right.
what the options are, what the implications of each option are. Then we can start to decide which option is actually best. But if we try to jump to that last step before we've done the first two, then everyone's arguing different things and we're talking across one another instead of talking to one another.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. And what I think what's really telling is, of course city elections are nonpartisan, but ideologies still come into play. But when I looked at the people that have been endorsing you this election, they have been everywhere from the right to the left, the Democrats, the Republicans, and those in the middle. And I think that speaks a lot to your working style that you've demonstrated on the City Council. How have you liked these first 2 years?
Oh, it's been great. I tell people 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago or so, I didn't think I was ever going to actually run for anything. I liked politics, but I liked it kind of from a backroom analysis kind of sense. But I got a call saying, there's going to be an opening. Do you have any interest? And I kind of thought to myself, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I love it.
Good decision.
It's been great.
Is it what you expected?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the details haven't been what I expected. I didn't know exactly what I was in for before I went in. To be honest, I didn't watch as many meetings as I should have before I actually got elected. But as far as, honestly, I thought that there were going to be fewer positives than there actually have been. I've discovered that I love talking to constituents about issues and things. And in the past, I've had difficulty talking with people I don't know well, but when it's about issues that I'm passionate about, and I'm passionate about the city, it kind of flows better than I expected.
So it's really helped with your personal growth and development too then?
Absolutely, yeah. 3 years or so ago, I would have been incredibly awkward having this conversation right now. Maybe some people think I still am, whatever, but.
Yeah.
It's
the fact that you're confident in who you are, and that you're now able to communicate that's great. I mean, it's I think heartening to other people that may want to get involved in city politics. And Kevin and I would both agree: the more people that get involved in a community, the stronger the community is going to be.
Absolutely,
100%.
Absolutely.
And I think your story is a great one. I mean, it gives a lot of hope and confidence to other people. So. Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And Mark, there's one thing I've learned about Anthony and getting to know him over the past 2 years. When we first opened the show and we started talking about the council at large race, we talked about the inside game, about how important it was on where the candidates place for second, third, fourth, fifth, even though it doesn't make a difference. I believe, I truly believe it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you really don't care if you're first place or fifth place. It's the same. It's it's a city councilor, a city councilor, and
I mean, it'll put a little smile on my face. But, but ultimately, that's not what I'm aiming for.
It's to serve.
Yeah,
and I think that's.
No, I watched the debate on tape, and you know, that, as you indicated, that ability to sort of take apart the issue so everybody can be on the same page, I thought you did a good job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Not many people know this. You know, a city council is a very time-consuming.
Oh.
As we know, very time-consuming. And he's an attorney.
Yeah.
And I believe you still sit on the Board of Appeals, too.
I do, the zoning board, yep.
Yeah.
So that's a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I feel your pain and your joy.
So we've come to the end of the campaign. The polls close in 10 minutes. So it really doesn't make sense to ask for people's vote at this point. But if you have anything to say to the voters now that the campaign has come to a close, now's the opportunity.
No, I'd just like to thank the voters for considering me, if they considered me, and for anyone who voted today did their job. You know, whether you voted for me, whether you voted for someone else, I'd rather you vote for an opponent than stay home. Because like Councilor Bedanza said, you've got to have that civic engagement. The more people are involved, the stronger the city is. So if you are debating whether to come out in the last 10 minutes or so, and you're planning on voting entirely against everyone I support, still get there to the polls. It's important.
Well said.
Very good. Councilors are all best of luck tonight.
Yeah, best wishes.
Thank you both.
Thank you. So we are 10 minutes till the polls close.
We're counting down.
That exciting.
Yeah.
You know, you've been on the council quite a while, but you've never had an opponent, have
No.
you? So, but you've worked on campaigns, so you know that feeling in your stomach when
I
you're
know
emotionally invested in a campaign.
You know, I don't think it's the same. When you're the candidate, it's just different.
It is.
And I've seen the candidates. You know, I've seen the joy. I've seen the agony. I've seen the in between.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess I've in some ways been blessed that I haven't had to go through that process yet.
Right.
It's a little odd. I don't think anybody in the city of Leominster has run their first 4 races in the entire history of the city unopposed. So I don't know. You know, it is what it is. But tired saying. But you know, it's not like I'm looking to feel that.
You're not inviting an opponent for next time, is what you're saying.
Well,
right?
who knows? It's as when Bill Belichick was once asked about a game in China 2 years hence. He said, "I don't know if I'll be here in 2 years." He says, "I don't know if China will be here in 2 years." So we're not looking that far ahead, Kevin.
Hopefully Leominster is still there in 2 years. I mean, we'll see after tonight. That's an interesting. We'll get more into that in the 8 o'clock hour. But you know, we had Georgie here, and we talked about the difference between the public perception and what goes on behind the cameras. I don't know if can we pull that Ward 2 field report up that Mike Delamonica had. And we can go back to that tape, and he talked to both Georgie and Paul at the polling location today, as well as a couple of their supporters. So if we can get that Ward 2 tape up, we will take a look.
Michael Delamonica here in Ward 2, St. Joseph's, where we have the Ward 2 City Council race, and probably one of the most memorable debates we had this debate season. A somewhat animated debate between Paul Boschman and Georgie Rodriguez. It's one that I like to watch over and over again myself. Kevin did a great job with that, and you both did a great job. It's clear that you two both have a lot of passion in terms of going for this seat. And so I'll ask each of you individually, what are you seeing out here?
Well, you know, we're very excited to be out here, and I'm here with Paul Boschman, the councilor of our ward, and we say hello and wish each other good luck. You know, at the end of the day, we both want what is best for the city. It's just like you said, we're very passionate, and we have a lot of fire. And we encourage, and we want to thank you. I encourage all the voters that came out today and cast their vote, and then in a little while we'll have the results.
Councilor Boschman, you've been doing this for, I believe you're going for your 4th term now. And so does this feel any different than past elections, or some of the same, or what do you?
It's about the same. It's just a different competition. More heated.
Yeah.
You know how you go, but it's pretty good. It's nice. And I want to say thank you, and please get out the vote. That's number one.
Yeah.
Because your vote does count.
Well, and definitely, and hopefully we do end up having the turnout, you know, like we have, and this seems to be a little bit, in terms Sorry for the oil truck interrupting my speech there, but you know, we seem to have a little bit higher of a turnout than usual for some of these municipal races. So that's certainly good to see. And we're here with Nelson, a supporter of Georgie Rodriguez. So Nelson, just tell me a little bit about what inspired you to come out here and support Mr. Rodriguez.
Well, there are many things that inspire me. The first thing is I'm a firm believer in our Constitution and our freedom to vote. I think that anyone who feels that their vote doesn't count is mistaken. Although, again, it's their right not to vote, right? I'm here to support Georgie. Georgie's been a member of this community for over 30 years. He's an exemplary member of this community. He dedicates himself every day to go out and do something for the community, be it delivering bread, be it delivering food, be it visiting the homeless, be it visiting the senior center. He's always in tune with what's going on. So this is why I support him, because 30 years of hard work definitely lets you know that he's a dedicated man.
I'm here with former Fitchburg City Councilor Annie DiMartino. Annie was a city councilor in Fitchburg for 20 years. She is here in support of Paul Boschman today in Ward 2, he incumbent running for re-election to City Council. Ms. DiMartino, a veteran of the local political process, to say the least. So why don't you describe for me what you're seeing out here, and then you can say a few words also why you are supporting Mr. Boschman.
I've seen a steady flow today, which was lovely, and the people who are coming out, I see an elderly population mostly coming out, and even with the weather, some people are walking, and it's really nice to see them coming out. It's too bad that people don't realize that the greatest honor they have is to vote. That's how I feel.
And how long have you known Mr. Boschman?
Oh, I've known him over 30 years. 30 years.
And so, without hesitation, you came out here to hold a sign for him. You said to me off air you're going to be here till 8 o'clock tonight.
Yes, I'll be here till 8 o'clock tonight. But I also know his opponent for 30 years. I've known both of them for 30 years.
That was quite the debate. Did you watch that Ward 2 debate?
I did. I did.
What did you think?
A lot of energy.
It was a lot of energy. It's going to be interesting. I think a lot of things shifted. Sometimes debates really don't change things. I think that one may have.
Yeah, you know, obviously there was a good deal of contention in the room that night, to be sure. And to hear Georgie's take on it now, you know, on election day, after all that hard work, you know, I think the candidates put it out there, right? Yeah. And as I said to you, I've seen this many times in the past, and then election day, people are friends, you know, and it's actually heartening to see.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it really is that people are willing to sort of, you know, it's almost like a sporting event. I mean, people go on a football field and knock each other's brains out for an hour, and then they shake hands and embrace after it, you know?
I got one question in that whole debate, and then the two of them just took over. They covered a lot of ground. There were a lot of issues, but they just went back and forth and back and forth. And
yeah.
I just remember after it was over, the best part of that debate was when it was over, they left because we had 3 debates that night for the Ward Council seats. And then Marisa and Steve for Ward 5 came in, and they both had the looks on their face.
Were they in the green room watching that?
Yeah, they were in the green room watching it. And I just looked at them both and I said, okay, how are you going to top that?
Georgie just getting you some ratings, that's all.
And then we saw Annie DiMartino there blasting with Pasco. Annie DiMartino served 20 years in the city council. She came in, she beat an 18-year incumbent, Jackie Naylor, who just passed away, great public servant.
Yeah.
And this was a time before signs weren't even allowed in Fitchburg, so she just had one homemade sign and a green raincoat.
I remember her.
And she got 70% of the vote.
She was a dynamo.
So
great lady.
You talk about surprises that happen.
Yeah.
You know, Jackie Naylor, well-loved, well-liked city councilor, 18-year incumbent, and she comes in and gets 70% of the vote.
I think, Annie, the word is real. You know,
yes.
I mean, in all I've learned, it keeps coming home is, you know, the success that's measured in politics is measured by trust and likability. Yeah. People like you, they trust you. The issues are, I don't want to say they were secondary, but those are the most important things. Everything is aside. And I think I'm sure that's how she did it. People trusted her.
And she's
people
still out
liked her.
there, 81
Yeah.
years old, holding
God-
signs from when the polls open till the polls close
God
tonight,
bless her.
8 o'clock.
God bless her.
And so 3 colorful characters now.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question as a historian. Who's the most colorful mayor ever in the city of Fitchburg?
Oh, city of Fitchburg?
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know. I guess it's got to be Headley Bray,
Headley
right?
Bray.
So we go back to 1959. Okay, I'll take you back for a minute. And Laurie Cormier was mayor of Leominster. Headley Bray was mayor of Fitchburg. And between them...
Talking about the boxing match?
I'm going to talk
Let's
about
watch,
a little
let's
mayoral
watch the boxing match and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Mayor Headley Bray. By far the most colorful mayor in the city's history was a farmer named Headley Bray. Bray served 3 terms as Fitchburg mayor, in 1955, being re-elected in 1957, and coming back in 1975. He also had his fair share of defeats, losing in 1951, and then again in 1959, 1961, and 1965, all losing to arch-rival George Burke. Bray would campaign by giving campaign speeches in each ward from a vegetable cart and would parade the neighborhoods in his heavy placarded tractor. As mayor, he would attend every wake in the city in the evenings and then visit the sick at Burbank Hospital on Sundays. In the days long before Twitter, he certainly had some tweet-worthy quotes. "I can get any vote in Claiborne by giving them a head of lettuce." Once during a labor dispute with the DPW, he ordered them not to plow the streets during a snowstorm, saying, "God put it there, and God will take it away." And during the 65 campaign, he called the bookmobile a phony and suggested using the municipal garage for a school to save money. On June 9, 1959, a charity boxing match took place at the Armory between Bray and Leominster Mayor Laurie Cormier. Life magazine did a 3-page article about the match. Both mayors took the match seriously, with both suffering injuries in training during the weeks leading up to the match. Bray fought with a broken tooth, and Cormier had injured his thumb. Bray objected to Cormier's bandaged thumb, calling him a cheat for using the bandage as padding under his glove. Cormier responded, "You're just a farmer," which enraged Bray. After 3 2-minute rounds, Cormier left the ring bleeding from his nose. To the dismay of the crowd, the match was called a draw. Just a farmer.
Classic, classic. So,
and I know this is in your book too. If anyone hasn't read Mark's new book, Risk Takers and History Makers, you got to pick this up. And I know this it's also in this book.
I couldn't, I mean, with all of the colorful people in the history of the city, I had to include that one. Laurie Cormier, of course, was a legend in Leominster, an early supporter of Jack Kennedy. Ultimately, just before the president was assassinated, named the head of FEMA by the president. Had gone on trips, goodwill trips to Vietnam and other countries. A real player, Laurie Cormier. But in the ring, that irascible guy from Fitchburg, Headley Bray, really kicked his rear end, to be honest with you.
And then it was named a draw. So Headley had a good gripe then.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's no doubt that Headley won that. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you remember this, but there was
1959. No, I don't.
No, Thanksgiving Day. I'm going to say sometime. Maybe early 80s, Jack McLaughlin was mayor, Headley Bray was mayor.
Oh, really?
And there was a challenge, and I'm sure Headley concocted it, to a 50-yard dash at the halftime of the Thanksgiving game at Crocker Field. And I think that Headley Bray, who was probably at least 15 years older than Jack McLaughlin, beat Jack McLaughlin by at least 15 yards.
And Jack McLaughlin could move.
Yeah.
He could move.
He won that challenge, too.
I saw Jack in the 90s that could move faster than me.
Yeah, but that boxing match in 1959 made it to Life magazine.
Yeah.
That was a national event. And actually, Headley, in the wake of it, challenged anybody, any mayor in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to get into the ring with him for charity. He said he'd box anybody anywhere.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
quite a character.
Colorful history.
Yeah.
So what do you think if that challenge was issued today? Dean Mazzarella and Steve DiNatale in the boxing ring. Who wins it?
I'm not gonna.
Come on, you can. Come on, pick one. Come on.
I think it could be. I think that would go to distance. I think it could go the distance.
Steve, was it Navy or Marines? I know he's
Coast Guard, I think, right?
And then you had Dean, who's a cop. And both of them, both of them are pretty Type A personalities.
Yeah, I don't know. That might have to be. It might be a decision. Split card.
I don't think we're going to see it though. I think we just may see the shoveling of the snow after the Thanksgiving Day games. I think that's about the extent it's going to go.
The popular image of pugilism has, I think, waned a little bit since 1959 as well.
Bob Pooler, candidate for City Councilor at Large, stopped by to the studio. How you doing, Bob?
Good, Kevin, and yourself?
I'm doing well, thanks. How'd it go today?
Mr. Pooler.
Mark?
Nice to see you.
How'd it go today?
It went very well. The whole campaign has just been one wild experience for me. Very educational.
Yeah.
And this is your first run for public office, right?
It is very much. Yes, it is my first run for public office.
Great. Did you make it out to all the wards today?
I did. Actually, my wife Debbie and I were out going around the different polling places and checking out the numbers and taking those down. And
congratulations, newlyweds, I believe, right?
I am. October 12th that Debbie and I were married.
In the midst of a campaign. Congratulations.
Yep, just before the at-large debates.
Yeah, good for you. What inspired you to get involved in local politics for the first time?
You know, I got to be honest with you. There were things that were happening at the point where I was looking around, and basically it started with the memories on Main Street back in 2017, and I went down there and I was looking at the empty storefronts and walking up and down Main Street and thinking, I remember thinking to myself, Main Street could flourish. Main Street could flourish, but it's got to be done right.
Okay.
So at that point in time, then it's like, all right, maybe I can help make a difference.
Very good. So you jumped in.
I jumped in.
So the polls have closed, so you can't ask for votes anymore, but do you have anything to say to the voters before the results come in?
I would definitely like to thank all the people that helped me during my campaign, my wife Debbie, and the others that have helped me right from the get-go from my campaign. I'd also like to thank you, the voters out here in Fitchburg, for all the support all the way through. I know it hasn't been an easy campaign, but it has definitely been an education for me. And I hope to find out, you know, whether or not you had enough confidence in me to put me in a seat.
We'll know soon enough. Polls are closed. Bob Pooler, best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best wishes, Mr.
Thank
Pooler.
you.
Yep.
Thank you. So it's 8:07. Polls have closed 7 minutes ago, and I believe we have the first numbers coming in.
All right.
That's what I'm being told.
That's
in the
how
control
quick
room.
it is these
that
days.
Is how quick, yeah, unbelievable. So we have numbers rolling in, and we can see where we're going. Interesting night. It's going to be an interesting night to see those numbers come in from Leominster too, isn't it?
I think I may have some.
You may have some. Okay. Well, until they get our numbers up here, what do we have in Leominster where we have a last minute?
Let's see if I can decipher this.
Okay. As we know it, the news broke over the weekend that there was an underground or grassroots, depending on what side you listen to, describe it, write-in campaign on behalf of Kenny Ricker, who ran a write-in campaign against Mayor Mazzarella 2 years ago.
All right, so let's see. This looks like Ward 4. It's cut off at the top. Ward 4. Yeah, it's Ward 4. I don't know which precinct, but I can tell you that Dean Mazzarella polled 239, and there were 50 write-ins.
50. So that's a lot different than we had 2 years ago.
That's only one precinct of the city, and it looks, you can see, Kevin, it says Ward 4, but precinct I can't tell you,
yep.
Unfortunately.
But 239 and then write-ins 50. So, you know, 2 years ago it was a very close race. There were over 9,000 people that voted in the city that year, and Mayor Mazzarella ended up winning re-election by 98 votes
Correct,
citywide.
after the recount, right.
And in this one, he's already ahead by 200 in just one precinct.
Well, I can tell you that Ward 4 usually votes, the voter turnout is usually highest.
Right.
And interesting, this precinct reports Councilor at Large, and you might find this interesting. Thomas Ardinger, 183. Susan Shalfo Zephyr, 184. John Dombrowski, 185. And Claire Frieda, 197, with 1 write-in.
Wow.
That's a little
you
crazy.
You can't get much closer than that.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations where it's not contested. You have 4 candidates for 4 seats, but
Yeah.
you know everyone's going to be watching for those placements to see who is the top vote getter. I think traditionally Claire Frieda has been the top vote getter a few times now, correct? In the last election?
Yeah, I would say, in my memory, I think she, as long as I've been on the council, she's been the top vote getter the last 3 elections.
And I know she's the longest serving elected official in the city of Leominster. But let's get back to Fitchburg. We have the Ward 3 results in.
All right.
Whoa. Or at least some Ward 3 results.
Okay.
So let's take a look at what we have coming in for Ward 3. The suspense is killing me. It's like it's not like looking at that old whiteboard down at City Council chambers, though, is it? Here we go. Oh, it's up there. Okay. So Joe Bowen, 396 votes. Alin Butland, 425 votes. Andrew Kuchar, 535 votes. Is that for all?
Results
is that for both?
100%? Yeah.
So Andrew Kuchar has been elected as the Ward 3 City Councilor for the City of Fitchburg. The results are unofficial. They have to be certified by the City Clerk, but these are the results that are being reported directly from the ballot machines. And again, Andrew Kuchar looks like will be representing Ward 3 on the Fitchburg City Council, defeating Alin Butland and Joe Bowen for that seat. Congratulations to Mr. Kuchar.
It's like the old days, no plurality, right?
Right.
To go back to the days, I remember researching the book, there were oftentimes mayoral races with multiple candidates before the charter change, and no plurality, but a winner, clear winner.
But a winner with about 39% of the vote.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah, and looks like 1 write-in, only 9 blanks. That's for a contested mayor's race. To have only 9 blanks is pretty interesting too.
That's surprising. Yeah, that's
a very low number of blanks for a ward council race. So people were going out and they were voting, and that's a testament to all three of those candidates also.
Well, they obviously went and they were heard. Yeah.
One of the things also in this race is that Andrew Kuchar was the only candidate who was not a first-time candidate for elective office.
Right.
Andrew Kuchar ran for mayor, and I believe he ran for state representative one year also. I think, or city councilor at large. He ran for city councilor at large and mayor. So I believe this is his 3rd run, and 3rd time's a charm. Looks like Andrew Kuchar.
I have another precinct in Leominster.
Cool. What do we got?
Dean J. Mazzarella, 192. This is Ward 3, Precinct A. Write-ins 29 and 7 blanks. So the trend is holding up.
Right. I mean, if it was close in any of those precincts, we could probably say, hey, we gotta wait. But I think it's
here's another one.
Okay.
This is Ward 5, Precinct A. Jean J. Mazzarella, 273. Write-ins 39.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good sampling. You got 3, 5, 4. All handily won by the mayor.
So Dean Mazzarella looks like cruising to re-election tonight.
It appears that way. It would be the oddest thing in the world if it turned out differently.
Yeah. If this news hadn't broken over the weekend and Mayor Mazzarella did not have the opportunity to really energize his voters over the past 4 or 5 days, do you think this could have turned out different at all?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Ricker campaign, I use the word, cautiously because, the candidate says he was not involved. I'll take him at face value. Whatever you want to call it, the effort, let's say, energized the mayor. And, I think the mayor the last time around took the conventional wisdom position, which is you don't pay attention to a write-in candidate.
Right.
Because all you can do is help them by giving them any kind of credence, challenging them to a debate, recognize them in the media. You just don't do it. And I think the mayor went with the conventional wisdom, and I think in retrospect he felt that was kept his people home, didn't energize his base, and I think he believed it was a significant disadvantage to him in that 2017 race. This time around, he wasn't taking that chance. So as soon as the effort became known, he mobilized, and I'm not saying that it was 0 to 60. I think the mayor, even as a result of what happened in 2017, would have had unopposed more of an effort than he would have had normally before 2017 happened. But with the news and with your involvement, with Flap and the information that you broke here, changed the dynamic. No question about it.
I mean, last time out, it was a write-in candidate, but it was out in the open. I mean, Ken was acknowledging it. There were signs out there. There were ads. There were sign holders. There were all of those things in a traditional campaign, except for the fact that he started very late and was a write-in candidate. It was out in the open. The public seemed to accept that more. I don't know about you, but what I've seen on social media and talking to people and the people that are blowing up my messages, Facebook messages, is that this one was different. This kind of secret underground campaign did not go over well with voters.
I don't think so. I think there was a backlash. I don't think you can. You can't. You've got to bring the voter into the process, right?
Right.
The voter needs to. I mean, people use the word transparency. We overuse it. And Ken's a well-known guy, no question. Popular, has a lot of friends, and I'm sure garnered a lot of support, both, especially in 2017, as a result of that. But the voters want to know.
Hold that thought. We have some at-large results coming in, and it looks like how many precincts are in?
41.7%.
41. So we have almost half the city in. Yep. Pretty close. Marcus DiNatale with 1,438 votes. Sam Squalia coming in second with 1,304. Anthony Zarella, 1,218. Amy Green, 1,175. And these are changing as we're reading them. So now we're up over 50%. You can see them up on your screen.
Interesting.
It looks like the placements are staying the same. Those top 5 are the ones who are leading. And the placements of these names will automatically change based on their vote totals.
Sure, but check Carboni, right? It looks like the contest right now is between 5 and 6.
Right.
Carboni's not far behind Kushmerek.
Right.
Only a few what was it, 50 or 60 votes, if I remember correctly. So that's interesting.
Can we put those numbers back up? Councilor Ladd, let's take another look at those numbers. Because I really wasn't looking at that bottom tier yet.
DiNatale and Squalia clearly leading the pack.
Yeah.
That's not
and
surprising.
that's going to be, and those are the leaders of the two different factions that we're talking about. Nobody will admit it, but there are two distinct factions, and they're updating them right now, and then they'll put them back up.
Great.
But those are the two factions, and it looks like it's pretty close between Marcus DiNatale and Sam Squalia for that number 1 and number 2 position, and you know that they're all looking at that.
And Anthony Zarella is doing very well.
He is.
He's not far behind.
Very well.
And that's not surprising to me either. I think he's sort of the voice of reason, if you will, on the Fitchburg City Council in some ways. So those 3 spots, like I said, not a lot of surprise there. And then it looks like there's a real battle for the 5th position.
Right. It looks like Amy Green is in that top tier too. I don't think that's much of a surprise. Long-term city councilor, reputation as a hard worker for people of her ward.
I thought her debate performance was very good. She clearly works hard and has put some time into the city of Fitchburg, and the voters are rewarding her for it.
Yeah. And it also depends on where these votes are coming from too, because obviously Amy Green has her base in Ward 1 that she's represented for a while. Mike Kushmerek has his in Ward 4. And Nick Carboni was a former Ward 5 councilor. So we're not sure where that 50% came in yet. That's not listed there, but that can play into this also.
Sure. 100%. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, Nick has only in the past campaigned in 5, and Michael in 4, and Amy in 1.
So far, that's the race.
Right,
for the night, right?
That is the race, the city council. Well, so far, we still have Ward 2 and Ward 5 council races. For those of you who just joined us, in the hotly contested Ward 3 race, really an historic Ward 3 race where we have 3 candidates running in a general election, it appears from unofficial results at this time that Andrew Kuchar has been elected as the Ward 3 city councilor, replacing longtime retiring city councilor Joel Caddy, defeating Alin Butland and Joe Bowen, both first-time candidates in the city.
Kevin, I got another result from Leominster in the mayor's race. I got another ward and precinct. Ward 2, we haven't visited there yet. Precinct C, Dean J. Mazzarella, 152, write-ins 24. So across the board, it's pretty much staying in that particular vein. It would appear that the write-in candidacy this time is a lot different than it was back 2 years ago.
So I think the unknown and why Mayor Mazzarella really had to go full on this weekend is because even though there was an acknowledgement that there was a write-in effort, what wasn't known was if this is something that was just dreamed up last minute that someone just decided to do, a few of Kenny's supporters decided to do, or was this something that's been long planned and they were studying those voting lists from 2 years ago?
It would appear it was fairly last minute.
Yeah.
Ward 3, Precinct C is in, and this one is a little bit more interesting. And I don't think wholly unexpected, but the mayor polled 293 votes to 130 write-ins. So that's the best showing so far, by far, of any precinct. And I think Mr. Ricker did pretty well there the last time around in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. You know what? In a last-minute effort, that's a fair amount of vote in a write-in. It really is. So apparently he's got some reasonable support in Ward 3C.
He does. He, I believe Ken Ricker won Ward 3C last time out by a pretty substantial margin.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
I look at it, he received 510 votes to Mayor Mazzarella's, where are we? 367
there you
votes.
Go.
So he beat him by a pretty substantial margin.
It's sort of paralleling what happened in 2017, but last minute effort, maybe not viewed by the public as being very, I don't know the word I'm looking for, wholesome. that may be not the right word, but
well, I think that really came into play last night. I think because when Mr. Ricker acknowledged that not only did he heard it was going on but didn't know about it. When he took it the step further and said, but I understand why it's going on, there are a lot of things wrong, there's a lot of change that's needed in the city, so if I'm elected, I will resign my position from the school department and serve. At that point, he becomes a candidate. At that point, he's declared.
Yeah,
otherwise, he would have said, he would have said something different. Of, I appreciate the effort, but I'm not interested, and I'm not a candidate. Let's take a look at what we have with about 58% of the vote in. Marcus D. Natalie maintaining that #1 spot with 1,969 votes. Sam Squire very close behind. And again, Anthony Zarella, Amy Green, and Mike Kushmerek. And again, that's pretty close between that #5 and #6 spot, which is the important part.
It looks like the first 4 are going to hold up. But you're right. Kushmerek and Carboni are in a race right now. Looks like it's 99 votes that Kushmerek leads Carboni with 58.3% of the vote in. A bit of a cushion, but not one that we don't know where these results are coming from in terms of which precincts, which wards. So it's a little early to be able to suggest what's going to happen there yet.
Anthony Zarella, Amy Green can probably sit down, relax.
I think so. If I was
in the middle, they're right in that cushy spot.
I would be happy to be their campaign manager right now.
Right, they're going to be fine. But again, there's just the pride and the competitiveness that naturally comes in from political candidates between Marcus and Sam for that #1 slot, and that with only 58%, that's still up in the air. Mayor's race.
Interesting. Well, no surprise, of course. Steve Natalie with 75.4% of the vote. It looks like just 3/4 of the vote is in. He's leading very comfortably over his challenger, Evelyn Island Mateo. 2,847 votes to 721. You know what? that's not a bad showing for her.
It's not.
Nice lady. I think, I think obviously not a whole lot of experience. That came through in the debate several times. But, respectful for her, taking the chance, putting herself out there, and, a fairly respectable vote, I would say, Kevin.
It was. We don't know how much of that is a vote for Evelyn and how much is a vote
against Steve.
Against Steve.
Yeah.
And I think we see there's 125 blanks. That's a very low number for blanks.
Yeah.
For a mayor's race. So that's a good testament. That's a good sign for Mayor Natalie to only get the 125. So add that 125 to 721. He's still at 75% of the vote.
Which is obviously a
in this day and age.
That's a substantial victory, no question about it.
With 85 write-ins.
Yeah, there's a bit of a Davy and Goliath contest, though, really there.
It really is, and we had that debate, and clearly there was, the distinction was very clear. But
the mayor. I watched the entirety of it. The mayor was very prepared, did a great job, and very dignified in his approach. And I said, a lovely lady, but the experience was just not there.
Now that it's all over, I can give my analysis on that. What I found is I believe she's very well intentioned.
Yeah.
She felt that she had some really good ideas, and she brought some issues to the table that she talked about, that I heard talked about afterward, about the sober houses in Fitchburg and giving people help that are challenged with addiction issues, which is a huge issue that faces not only Fitchburg but the whole country right now. And she really wanted to bring some attention to that. And she came on, and yes, she probably underestimated what the position of mayor entails.
Oh, yeah, that's clear.
That was clear. She has a lot to learn, but she came with good intentions.
Yeah,
she didn't come throwing spears. She didn't come, attacking, which some people do.
It's a lot easier to challenge than to govern. And I'm sure Mayor Natalie knows that well. So, and look there's nothing wrong with ideas. There's nothing wrong with trying to do things a little differently, taking a look at a different way to do things. But at the end of the day, governing is difficult.
It is.
Especially in 2019.
And he could have handled it differently too. I mean, it was the Bray Cormier boxing match, right? The mismatch. But he handled it with professionalism.
I agree.
He handled it with kid gloves. He was firm where he needed to be firm. But he also, you could tell he didn't want to embarrass her. He didn't want to.
No, he was a statesman in that debate.
And that probably explains why he has never gotten less than 65% of the vote.
That's part of Steve's temperament, and he did a great job. Here we go.
So it looks like we have about 75%, 3/4 of the results in for the City of Fitchburg Councilor at Large race. Marcus Natalie maintaining the #1 spot at 2381. Sam Squire 2162. Councilor Zarella and Green bringing up the middle. And Mike Kushmarek and Nick Carboni, less than 100 votes.
Yeah, 98. so it's sort of holding up, but you still got some vote to come in there. Close race.
With 100% of the precincts reporting, Ward 5 Councilor Marisa Fleming appears to have been re-elected as the Ward 5 Councilor to a second term in office, beating Stephen Sine. A respectable showing for a challenger, receiving 42% of the vote.
100%, yeah. That's against an incumbent. That's absolutely. He must have worked hard, no question.
He did. He was out there pounding the pavement. He worked hard, and he had a very strong debate performance. I'm not sure. Did you see that?
I did see a piece of that. I got to confess, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did see some of it. And she's a likable lady, and he had it's always a little bit of a challenge with an incumbent, at least. And, you're starting behind, sort of. And like you said, that's a respectable showing.
Very respectable showing. But Marisa, that's an excellent showing for her, too. Winning re-election to a second term. And she's I don't know if I've ever seen Marisa or Amy Green without getting a hug. I mean, it's that personal connection means a lot. Even if you don't agree on every issue,
of course,
it's that personal connection.
I think that's how voters vote. I mean, they may not agree with you all the way down the line on every issue. They may not even be able to articulate your stance on the issues.
Right.
But there are very few litmus tests left in our politics, I think. And you know, when you commit, you make that connection with voters and you're personable and they like you, they come out for you. Right. And that, I don't think that's a surprise, except to say that Mr. Cine obviously worked hard.
He did. And congratulations to both candidates.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Congratulations to Marisa Fleming. And we see the disclaimer there, and I always get people asking me, how come the results are unofficial? Are these going to change? And that's more, especially in this kind of race, more of a technicality than anything else.
Yeah, but
there's a certain window of time that candidates can ask for a recount, and that window has to close before results can be certified, made official, and sent to the Secretary of State's office to be certified. But
correct.
In races like these where you don't have write-in votes, where it's not really close enough to count, for a recount's going to happen, it still has to say unofficial, but those are the numbers.
Well, at least we're not calling them with 2% of the precincts. At 802.
At 802.
Like some of our colleagues in the network television shows.
we're not going to have a Bush Gore moment here, right?
No. You know, it's funny, when I did the book on Lou, he was good friends with Gore. Gore had slept at his home, you know.
Yep.
And he was good friends with David Souter. And within 2 weeks of Bush v. Gore being handed down, Gore v. Bush being handed down from the U.S. Supreme Court, he had been in Tennessee and stayed at Gore's house and went to Washington and had lunch with David Souter.
David Souter, former Supreme Court Justice, appointed by George H.W. Bush.
That's right.
Son of New Hampshire, really pushed by Warren Rudman.
That's right.
The one that got him, one that really pushed
You're 100%
Bush
right. And that was one of Lou D'Alessandro's mentors.
Yeah.
We got to get him on your show.
And it was. I'm waiting for you. We can try to schedule
prime time.
Prime time.
Prime time's coming up.
All right. So we got to do it on a Thursday night rather than Friday afternoon.
We got a decision coming up in New Hampshire in January.
We got to do it before January.
Yeah, 100%.
We will work that out and get and get you on. And that was your previous book with Lou D'Alessandro.
Book 8.
Just writing a lot, huh? Where do you find the time?
You
write more books than I read. Where do you find the time?
I like to keep active, and in this time of year when it starts to get cold, I get home from work, I put 5 or 6 hours into writing, and sooner or later it finishes.
Very good. We're approaching 8:31, and I believe all wards are in, and they are working hard in the control room to enter those numbers up into the graphics for us. So they're entering all the ward numbers in, and should be getting to them shortly. You getting some more numbers from Leominster?
You got a couple of more precincts. You got the other 2 precincts in Ward 4. Dean J. Mazzarella in 4A, 413, write-ins 115. Again, for a last-minute write-in campaign, respectable number. And then Ward 4B, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor 373, and write-ins 98. So it's
so about a 4-to-1.
Yeah,
we have 100% of the precincts reporting. Stephen D. Natalie, re-elected mayor of the city of Fitchburg with nearly 75% of the vote.
Yeah.
So those numbers held up from the 75% mark.
Right.
Evelyn Island Mateo, the challenger, with about 20% of the vote.
Just under 20%.
Just under 20%.
Yeah.
Not many blanks. 156 blanks.
Yeah.
Not bad.
No, not a surprising result, but I guess it speaks for itself. Speaks for the mayor's leadership.
And with 100% of precincts reporting, you want to take it?
Yeah, it looks like Mike Kushmerek has survived a hearty challenge from Nicholas Carboni with 1,868 votes to Carboni's 1,730. And the top vote getter, Marcus Di Natale, 2,943, followed by Sam Squalia, 2,668. And Anthony Zarella closely behind with 2,585. Amy Green, 2,450. And Mike Kushmerek, as I said, 1,868. So the only race in contention there all night really was between for that 5th spot, and Mike Kushmerek has survived a bit of a challenge from Mr. Carboni.
Is if we look at the Ward 2 councilor,
100%.
100%. Paul Boschman reelected by a pretty big margin over Rosie Rodriguez.
I'm a little bit surprised by that. Not real surprised, but Mr. Rodriguez polled 28.7%. 214 votes. Boschman, a pretty convincing win for Boschman,
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
say.
There was a little bit of a sea change after that debate, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the debate may have had an impact on it.
I think it has. I think if the Georgie Rodriguez that showed up tonight showed up at that debate, these numbers, I don't know if they would have been changed, but they would have been. I think they would have been a little closer.
Yeah.
But it was a debate performance that probably if he could take it back, he would. But in the contested races, you see the numbers coming up right now. It looks like in Ward 2, City Councilor Paul Boschman re-elected by a large margin. In Ward 3, we have a new City Councilor in Ward 3, Andrew Kuchar, beating Aline Butland and Joe Bowen. And in Ward 5, Marisa Fleming being re-elected to a second term over Stephen Sine. The rest of the wards, 1, 4, and 6, are all uncontested. Beth Walsh will be going back 82% of the vote for her second term. In Ward 4, Andrew Van Hazinger just walking in unopposed, like my friend Mark Bonanza.
With 82% of the vote, that's pretty good. He ran against Mr. Blank.
Yeah.
74 blanks. That's not bad. That's pretty good. You'll never get them all.
Look at Bernie Schultz, 91% of the vote.
Wow.
First-time candidate running unopposed.
Very impressive.
In Ward 1.
I mean,
very well known too.
Look at it's no surprise. Obviously, the fellow was unopposed, but to get 91% of the vote, a lot of voters go in, and if there's one name on the ballot, they're just not going to vote for you.
Right.
And to have that few blanks,
they took the effort.
I don't know of a local race that's been has had that few blanks.
Yeah, that's a very impressive showing from Bernie Schultz. And if you're a political insider and you're looking at that, and you're going to see opponents scared off in the next election.
Yeah, you would think.
Well, he went in unopposed this time. Do we challenge him next time? You get 91% of the vote. That's a pretty good indicator of some strength. So,
any surprises for you tonight? Big surprises? No, right?
No, I don't believe there was any surprises. I think I may be a little surprised in the small difference between the 5th and 6th place challengers and council at large. The first 5 I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was pretty expecting.
Yeah.
But I didn't think there would be that much of that small of a difference between the Ward 5 and Ward 6. The number 5 and number 6 positions.
Yeah, that might be the biggest surprise.
But it was a minor surprise.
Yeah, not a big surprise, no.
It was a minor surprise. So again, Marcus Natalie, top vote getter, and that's a familiar place for him. In 2017, if we look at the last election, he was the top vote getter with 3,150 votes.
Well, Marcus has a good handle on municipal finance. He exercises. He's finance chair, right?
He is.
Gotta be. He exercises a good deal of leadership.
He's been around a long time.
Been around. He knows this. He's prepared.
He is very prepared and very in tune and very responsive to constituent needs. Also, he's not one that's hard to get a hold of. He's very active, very available on social media. Anything you need, he's there. Probably not one, and he is a young family and very understanding. Probably not one you see at every city event,
right,
like you do some other councilors. But when it comes to the hard work of being a council, especially with finance, you know that with Marcus Natalie as finance chairman, that you have someone that knows the numbers and knows what's going on.
And I especially respect that because I'm the finance chair in Leominster, and I know how hard that job can be.
Yeah.
It requires a good deal of work, homework, preparation. You have to know what's going on.
Yeah. And Sam Squalia improving her standing. Last time she came in 3rd place in 2017, re-elected to a second term in 2nd place. So she's moving up a notch also.
Not a terrible surprise. I mean, the woman's a ball of energy.
She really, and she's everywhere.
Yeah, she is everywhere.
She's everywhere. Anthony Zarella and Amy Green, I don't think that's a surprise either. And Michael Kushmerek. So Amy Green, the current Ward 1 councilor, Michael Kushmerek, the city council president, and current Ward 4 councilor, both remaining on the city council, but moving up into the council large position.
It looks like the voters are fairly pleased with their leadership.
Yeah. It does. Nicholas Carboni, very, very respectable showing tonight.
Yeah.
Josiah Richard with over 1,000 votes. He did very well also.
Yeah. First thought, was that his first time?
This no, this is his second run at councilor at large, and he also ran for Ward 5 councilor last time.
Yeah.
But he put a lot. He put some effort into it this time. I'm very proud of his efforts, and I've told him that he's really worked for this one. He did well.
Yeah.
And Paul Boschman, Georgie Rodriguez, again, we see the numbers. So to recap, 100% of the votes are in. Mayor Stephen D. Natalie reelected with 75% of the vote. In Ward 2, Paul Boschman reelected with 69% of the vote.
Yep.
In Ward 3, a new councilor, Andrew Kuchar, fending off challenges with Aline Butland and Joe Bowen, replacing retiring city councilor Joel Caddy. In Ward 4, we have the newcomer Andrew Van Hazinger. And in Ward 5, a contested race, Marisa Fleming, fending off a challenge from local businessman Stephen Sine. Worked hard for it, but she did. And 12 points, 54 to 42. That's certainly. It's not a blowout like it was in Ward 2, but it is still a respectable margin and something that Marisa can be very proud of. And Mr. Sine can be proud of also.
Very good. Yeah, very good. So, I guess the big recap is no big surprises.
No big surprises, I don't think.
Not in Leominster either, apparently.
So it's going to be, it looks like it's going to be an early night. I know we have some people celebrating down at Slattery's and some celebrating down at Dario's. Did you ever go to Dario's?
I don't even know where Dario's is.
Okay. Well, there's two of them. There's one on River Street, and there's one in Lunenburg in that plaza right across from Walmart.
Ah, okay.
They have the best. You go there, you get the Gamberi Formaggio. You cannot go wrong. It's amazing.
I'll have to check it out.
And Slattery's, everyone's been to Slattery's.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
It's been to Slattery's. So that's where the parties are going to be tonight. Any thoughts?
Well, it was a pleasure doing the show. I mean, it's fascinating. Local politics is, they say all politics is local, and they're not kidding, right? And the communities. The heritage and history of these communities is fascinating. Having just did the history book in Leominster and looking at all of those elections of the past and how contested. I mean, what I've noticed is that, it's changing. It's a changing world. I don't think it's all people's satisfaction. Some of it is people don't want to get involved. Right. I mean, I was talking to elected officials in Leominster, and of course it happened here in Fitchburg and it happened in Leominster, right? We have ward councilors who are running unopposed in their first run for office. You would not have seen that happen in 1970, 1960, 1950, there would have been 6, 7, 8 people in those races.
If even in a council race, you would never see anyone walk in unopposed.
No, it didn't happen.
In a council race.
It didn't happen. Wayne Nickel, who was a great historian of the council, prepared the history of all of the races in Leominster from its cityhood in 1916 or 15 to present, almost to present, God rest his soul. And it's interesting to go back and look. And, in the early history of the city, no one got a free pass. Didn't matter. There was never a free pass. Not until you get into the 70s and 80s do incumbents start running unopposed. And not until you get to my era do people who haven't run for office before become unopposed.
How much do you think social media plays into that? These candidates take a beating on social media. They make one wrong move or one misstep, and it is just absolutely blown up on social media.
Well, that's a possibility, but the social media world itself has changed things. People are spending infinitely more time on social media, especially if you look at the right age demographic, than they would be reading the Fitchburg Sentinel. No offense to my friends at the Fitchburg Sentinel. Reality's reality, right? Right. Your show proves that. So when people are in social media, they're sort of in a different world, right? And we remember back to the 90s when the Sentinel had clout, with local political issues. When I was city solicitor in Leominster, the Sentinel was a key player in the picture.
Sure.
The lawsuit against Fitchburg and the industrial park, you may remember that very well.
I think I do.
The Sentinel had a big role in that. Today, people are disconnected a little bit because the newspaper doesn't play that same role. I mean, they've morphed into sort of a cultural asset, which is nothing. That's nice.
Yeah.
But it's, I think we are a bit disconnected from our local government, more so now than we were in the past. And I think that's what's happening.
And that's what we're trying to, change and bring back a little bit with Flap TV.
You should be commended for that.
And it's, we're really proud in this election season. I said it before, I'll say it again. We had 19 candidates in Fitchburg competing in contested races, and every single one of them showed up to debate.
That's great.
In 7 contested races.
And Mr. Rodriguez is 100% right. It didn't work out for him tonight, but I take him, I think he's, he came in here with a lot of dignity and said, look, I'm going to continue to work. I'm not going to be a sore loser, and that's the kind of thing you want to hear. I mean, every community needs people involved. And when you, as an organization here at FLAP, get more people involved, you are assisting the city in a very positive way.
And we're going to continue to do that. We don't want to let the night close, though, without, recognizing and just, we're going to have a full tribute show coming up, but it's going to be tough.
I know. Look, wonderful lady. Very blessed to have known her and met her, and a great friend, and very, very sad.
And but we'll move on. We'll figure out. We'll get our footing, and Michael and I.
She would want you to, Kevin. You know that. You know that 100%.
So things have changed a lot with social media, with ads, and we're going to close out tonight by showing you some ads of Fitchburg Past, politics of Fitchburg Past, and we're going to close out. Mark Bedanza, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
again.
for having me.
Last year was a ball. Thank you to the whole crew here at FATV. Especially to my director, Robin Como, who this show would never have happened without her. To all the people, David Cormier, Alex Ramos, and all the others from FATV, collecting those numbers at the polls tonight for us so we could bring you numbers very quickly. To Ann Bisbee, who keeps it all together here at FATV.
She does an amazing job.
She keeps it all together. To Dave, Matt, everyone at FATV, thank you. And we're going to leave you with some of the ads of Fitchburg Past. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you, viewers, too.